the horror movie guy, and in today's video, I'm gonna be ranking all the Friday the 13th because it is Friday the 13th in October. The next Friday the 13th in October is gonna be 8 years from now. So I gotta take the chance and make this video right now, or I'm gonna have to wait 8 years for the next one in October. But there will be others outside of October. So okay, uh, starting off with Friday the 13th, the original. Also, there will be spoilers for the movies, and this is my personal opinion. So um, please don't please don't be mad at me if I put your favorite movie in D tier or C tier. So for the first movie, I gotta put it in S tier. The first movie is so good. The characters, like all the lore, and you if you have heard of the Friday the 13th series before, you would just think, oh, it's Jason in this one, but no, it's Jason's mom, and I think it was a cool twist for me. Next is gonna be Friday the 13th Part Two, and I'm gonna put this above the original Friday the 13th because I think this one has Jason. And if you look at my Jason Masks ranking, I I really liked the like bag over Jason's head, and I think this was the first one he appeared in. The characters are all good in this, and like Jason, like we finally get introduced to Jason, and we finally get introduced to like the lore of Jason. Next, we're gonna have Friday the 13th, Part 3. And for this one, I'm probably gonna put it in A tier. This one, Jason finally gets his hockey mask, but it's good, but it's okay. Next, we have Friday the 13th, the final chapter. As we all know, it is not the final chapter, and I'm gonna put this above the original, but not as good as the second one. I think this one, I'm actually no, that's a good ranking. I think this one is great. Um, we get introduced to Tommy, who stars in uh, Jason, or not Jason, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, Friday the 13th, part 5, and Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives. And he's one of the best characters in the entire series, like, other than Jason. And this is when you get to see him really in his prime. Like, he's a great character. Next, I'm gonna do Friday the 13th, part 5. I'm gonna put this in A tier. The only reason I do this is I like having Tommy be in like not a mental institution, but like kind of mental. It's like a mental like stability camp kind of thing, and I like that premise. But the only reason I put this in A tier, it's not Jason in this movie, and throughout the movie they try and get you to think that Tommy is like a Jason copycat, but it ends up he's not. So yeah. Next is Jason Search Jason or Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives. I really love this movie. This was the first Friday the 13th movie I had ever seen, and like I just remember loving the kills, loving the characters. This it holds a special place in my heart. So I'm gonna put this above the original, but it's still super good. The premise of having Tommy come back and then finally put an end to Jason, air quotes around putting an end to him because he doesn't really die. But yeah, this one just holds a special place in my heart for that. Next we have um Friday the 13th Part 7. I'm probably gonna put this one here. I like how the girl has telekinesis powers. I don't remember her name, but I think that's cool, and how she like levitates Jason out of the water, and then she basically causes all the deaths in this movie. I like the premise of it. It's totally not the best, definitely not the worst though. Next is Jason Takes Manhattan. I'm gonna have to put this one in C. Don't get me wrong, I like this movie, but Jason's only in Manhattan for like the final 5 minutes of the movie. Most of it's just taking place on a boat. So, yeah, that's all I kind of have to say about that. And like the characters are kind of forgettable. Like I don't really remember any of the characters from this one. Next, we have Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Goes to Hell. Like I said in my mask ranking, I really like the mask about how it like has molded into his face, but you really only get to see that for like maybe 10 minutes in total, and then he gets blown up, and then his soul goes into other people. This I don't know how, they could have done this to any killer ever. Like they could have done this to Michael Myers, they could have done this to like anybody. But like it's not specific to Jason. We're like, oh, now his soul's going to person. So for that, in my opinion, this is definitely the worst movie in the franchise. Next, we have Jason X. Jason X, I'll put uh, I'll put it in B tier. I like Jason X. I think the premise is hilarious that he goes into space and Jason Jason being in space and then getting the metal suit, and he basically becomes indestructible until like the end. And I think that the whole premise is hilarious. Next, we have Freddy vs. Jason. I really love this movie. I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but I really like it. It's not as good as these four, but it's definitely better than most of these. I think the premise of having Jason and Freddy fight is so good. Like I don't know. This I just feel like this movie is awesome. And then last is Jason, the remake slash reboot. I'm gonna put this probably here in front of them. I really like this movie. I like the premise of how the guy has to go searching for his sister, and then he ends up meeting all these people, and then it turns out Jason took his sister, so all of the people die except for him and his sister, and then they finally escape and put an end to Jason. And I think that's awesome. So this is my ranking. This I feel like yeah, this is all my personal opinion. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave your own ranking in the comments, and goodbye.